As a young squidling who enjoyed the heebie-jeebies, I devoured comics like Tales from the Crypt and Weird Science. Often creepy, always campy, sometimes cheesy, these comics echo the pulpy origins of modern science fiction, arguably harkening back to Frankenstein. Pulpy, campy, and cheesy might not sound like positive adjectives to you, but to me they express an endearing, earnest charm. These stories let you know they're here to enthrall you, from their captivating covers to their ubiquitous twist endings.
How can you be so sure them aliens ain't already among us? Because you are one!
Predictable? Probably. Enjoyable? Absolutely. Authentically meaningful? Often enough to keep coming back. For those exact reasons, I like Black Mirror today. The British-turned-Netflix TV show provides existential angst, which only occasionally overshadows a steady level of cheesiness. Each episode has a campy conceit, not unlike the clickbaity narratives of pulpy comics. But unlike pulp comics, in which protagonists discover the dystopian world was Earth all along, Black Mirror accepts this twist as a given. The idea that these stories could actually happen ranges from genuinely unsettling to campy and comical. But cookies, the signature element of Black Mirror's most infamous episodes, are simply unbelievable. We suspend a lot of disbelief buying into stories about consciousnesses being saved to flash drives and consigned to eternal torment. However, one simple change in perspective, which cheaper sci-fi might make the mistake of explicitly stating with a cheesy twist ending, bring those episodes bone-chillingly close to reality as we experience it. Let's begin with the anthology episode Black Museum. Spoilers, by the way. The first of 3 stories introduces a brain implant which can share objective sensations between a doctor and their patient.
Step into the machine, right? So I could feel how he feels, and then he can feel how I feel, and he'll go, oh, you're not well at all.
You're a maniac. I don't know.
This fantasy technology is at least decades, if not centuries, away in reality, but we already have a contemporary analog. Any doctor with empathy can imagine how their patient feels, and probably empathizes without conscious effort. Black Mirror frames natural empathy through the lens of technology to warn us about,
That hurt like hell.
He was into it.
Sadism, I guess. Bear with me, I'm going somewhere with this. In the next chapter of Black Museum, new technology lets a comatose woman copy her whole consciousness into her fiancé's mind while her body dies.
Doctor says, what we can do now, been working on this, do you want half of his brain in your head?
Removing the veneer of sci-fi, in real life we can simulate people in our heads using empathy, and when those people die, our mental simulations of them are their only continuing existence.
He's gone, but you'll have his thoughts.
A real fiancé might maintain an empathetic simulation of their late partner for the rest of their own lives.
Say if I died,
Yeah.
and Suzanne said, go on, I'll have half of Karl's, I'd still be there. Relationships, it's the love of 2 brains.
Moreover, this simulation might understandably disturb that fiancé's future relationships even without the benefit of Black Mirror's fictional technology. In the episode, when the woman's consciousness bothers her fiancé's new girlfriend, she's confined to a monkey doll and given to her son.
A monkey brain was still alive and it was stuck on a stick. He poked it and it reacted.
Right.
So it's still alive, it's being kept alive, and it's only a matter of time.
In real life, we'd hope a man would give his son a more tasteful memento of his late mother, but even a plush monkey would preserve the symbolism of transferring the late mother's memory from mother to father to son. Sure, Black Museum's monkey can only say monkey needs a hug and monkey loves you, but because the child lost his mother very young, that might be all he remembers of his mother anyway.
Mommy loves you. Mommy needs a hug.
In which case the monkey's limitations are depressingly apt. The fictional technology adds weight and narrative legitimacy to a story which plays out in real life without that technology. We never needed sci-fi tech to worry about forgetting our loved ones after they pass. The last story in Black Museum takes the idea of copied consciousness to a horrifying conclusion. A death row inmate is doomed to repeat his execution over and over again. Each time, a copy is kept in perpetual agony. In real life, where the execution would occur only once, the controversial court decision would still scar the national consciousness. Just like one dead woman might live on in the mind of her fiancé, the inmate's death would repeat in the whole nation's imaginations. Some would even fetishize those memories. The Black Museum lingers and resonates, not just because thousands of copies of a guy are fictionally electrocuted using scary future technology, but because the technology described is our own minds. We can't download consciousness onto a flash drive, but we don't even have to sign away the rights to our brainwaves for our enemies to imagine torturing us. On that note, in the episode USS Callister, a disgruntled video game developer secretly, forcefully copies his co-workers' consciousnesses into a Star Trek game, basically.
It's a bubble universe ruled by an asshole god.
These simulated co-workers are quick to complain they have no genitals, which strikes me as a peculiar design decision. Surely a man who would throw a child out an airlock would dream of tormenting his co-workers in every manner, even sexually. Maybe the writers knew a virtual sex dungeon would be in bad taste, but since the female lead manages to seduce the designer like a Barbie charming a Ken, he's obviously meant to come off as a pervert. Perverts exist in the real world, too, and although they don't have Black Mirror technology to trap copies of their acquaintances, anyone can fantasize about anyone without anyone's permission. And those imagined scenarios won't always be desexualized or even consensual. But just like the female lead gives a word of warning to her original consciousness outside the game, you and I might feel compelled to avoid creepy people, even without knowing precisely what they've imagined doing to us.
Don't be too nice to him, because he gets a bit stary. Wide berth.
The episode conveys the real-life unpleasantness of uninvited fascination by inventing technology with no real-life counterpart outside the inescapable mind itself, without needing to spell it out in a twist ending like, it turns out it's man.
Why should I believe you? You're Hitler! No!
Even without twist endings, Black Mirror is happy to let you know that its wildest ideas reflect a terrifying reality inside every human mind. The latest release, Bandersnatch, basically shouts it at us.
It's not a happy game, it's a fucking nightmare world, and the worst thing is, it's real and we live in it.
Bandersnatch features the best example yet of horror that even we, the audience, cannot escape, even after the story ends. Somebody is making the main character's decisions, and that same person is making our decisions. In both cases, we usually call that person us, ourselves.
So in the morning when you say, oh, I don't know what to have, well, I have cornflakes, is better the brain will sort of say,
Have a Weetabix.
Have shredded wheat, or
Yeah.
whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, good idea.
But in a moment of dissociation, we might doubt free will and feel like someone else is pulling the strings. God? Satan? Physical determinism? Netflix? There's no wonder it always feels like someone is watching us. We're always watching us. And the unknowable nature of the self is fundamentally terrifying when seen in a Black Mirror. In Bandersnatch, two characters have opposing views on time. The main character's therapist says the past is immutable. No matter how much we imagine, we can't change it, we can only accept it. The main character's work friend says even just recalling the past in our imaginations creates new timelines as real as the one we constantly perceive. One of Bandersnatch's endings, which I felt was the most narratively conclusive, fails to declare either of these views valid over the other. The main character changes the past by choosing to die in a train wreck, but then we see he actually died in his therapist's office, so the past didn't change after all, and the future continued uninterrupted. But only the audience knows that. The main character experiences reality precisely as if the past had been altered, and died, obviously, without learning the true circumstances of his death. From his point of view, he succeeded, and no one can teach him otherwise. The impossible choose-your-own-adventure timeline reminds us, the audience, that we also experience the real world as a choose-your-own-adventure, through the medium of pure sensory perception in a mental theater whose only escape is death.
Whether it's dying would depend largely on your philosophical position regarding sentient code.
We would cease to exist, that's true. But we'd be free.
The robot in Metalhead seems a little silly, but not scientifically unreasonable. Shut Up and Dance is scary because it involves no implausible technology. But some episodes of Black Mirror feature fictional technologies too ludicrous to even consider. In these cases, interpreting the technology as a metaphor for the inescapable function of the human mind shows that the nightmare is real and all around us, and we can't leave. We're splunking in Plato's cave, and there's no way out. To me, this is a natural extension of classic cheesy sci-fi twists. Sometimes an alien planet turns out to be Earth, or an alien race turns out to be man. But here, terrifying but impossible realities turn out to be our own existence viewed in, say it with me now, a Black Mirror. That's all I've got to say about that. But did you know that Waldo from the Waldo Moment is named after machines in Robert Heinlein's short story Waldo, which also inspired Waldos for the Muppets? So the real danger presented in the Waldo Moment isn't electing a cartoon character, it's installing a puppet. It's neat that even episodes people look down on have these layers to them. Or maybe I'm thinking about it too much? Well, that's all I do here at Thinkster. In hindsight, I picked really gruesome topics for my first 2 videos. Maybe next time I should talk about the Teletubbies or something. Consider subscribing, or check out my website at ted-writes.com. Bye-bye!